Hi guys, welcome back. Now here on the channel, I usually try to share tips and information that I think is going to help you guys win your case. But every now and then I get a comment that I feel like is low-key slamming us workers who are standing up for our rights. And I hate that. I feel like we've all been on the receiving end of this kind of judgment at one time or another. They say the problem isn't our employers, it's us. We should work harder, or just toughen up, or move on, or whatever. I don't buy into that for 1 second, and I don't want you guys to either. Now, one of the first things that made me want to call BS on this particular comment is that this person said they had never had a protected job. Almost all American workers have some protections. Minimum wage, unemployment benefits, workers' comp, OSHA, the right to due process, and the right to collective bargaining under the National Labor Relations Act. These are protections that most of us have if we're working legally in the United States. Now, of course, here on the channel, we know that those protections don't always keep our employer from infringing on our rights, but at least it leaves us with some legal recourse when they do. But by far, the biggest problem that I had with this comment is that behind it, I see a person who refuses to acknowledge that discrimination is real. Or if it is, it's no big deal and we should just get over it. There are a lot of people like that out there. They seem to be on a mission to make us feel ashamed for standing up for our rights. And often they try to shine a negative light on us and our motives to prove that we don't deserve those rights in the first place. So today, I want to take that light and turn it around on them. Let's look at them and their motives. I promise I'm going to keep the rants to a minimum, but I do think it's important to talk about this so the next time one of them comes at you, you know 100% that standing up for yourself and your rights is more than okay. It's really brave. So now let's get into it. What makes a person act like this? The simplest and most common reason is probably that discrimination has never happened to them. If it never happened to me, it obviously isn't real. And there's also the fact that most of us are raised to believe that hard work and doing a good job pays off. This commenter said that. It's a beautiful fairy tale, but in real life, there are lots of petty, ignorant, cruel people with enough power to make other people's lives miserable. And they do. When they do it based on a protected characteristic, that's illegal discrimination. And it happens every day. Then there's the fact that some people can only accept evidence that confirms the beliefs they already hold. Once you convince yourself discrimination isn't real, you're never going to see it, even when it's right in front of your face. Some know if they acknowledge the discrimination, some things might have to change. Maybe some things that are benefiting them. There's also the guilt that goes along with benefiting from a system that has historically perpetuated discrimination. We see a lot of outrage about that on the news from people who say their guilt makes them feel small and like they should be ashamed of who they are. We all hate feeling guilty. I get that. What I don't get is doubling down on the thing that you're feeling guilty about in the first place. And these days, most of us recognize that overt discrimination is wrong. So overt discrimination usually isn't what happens. Discrimination tends to be more subtle. So it's harder to see. For some people, discrimination is an ideological or political trigger. They don't believe in equal rights. And because their beliefs are the right ones, they get to be the thought police and tell the rest of us how to act and think. The places and personalities we look to for inspiration and information influence our beliefs. If the talking heads we follow on cable or the trolls we follow on Twitter deny and downplay discrimination, well, that rubs off. Maybe when something you're watching on TV or reading on the internet makes you hate another person, it's time to take a step back and get a more balanced perspective. Ironically, a lot of the people who won't acknowledge discrimination feel marginalized themselves. They feel that certain groups and politicians and the media have gotten so carried away with empowering marginalized communities that they've become the victims now. I gotta be honest with you guys. I've had those feelings myself, and I had to come to terms with them. When Doug and I moved here to a diverse urban community in the Midwest from a Tennessee farm, it was a big shock. We had to unlearn a lot of our biases to be happy here. Like once we saw a flyer for Black Lives Matter. This was before George Floyd, so we'd never heard of it before. And the flyer said, "White people are welcome to attend the meeting and show your support, but we ask that you not speak. Come prepared to listen instead." It felt like we didn't matter. Then it hit us, that's probably the whole point. They wanted Black Lives Matter to be about Black voices. Duh. Listening to other voices is important. That's why I encourage you guys to all share your stories as much as you can, and why I love it so much when you do. Because as protected workers, it's important for our voices to be heard. And if your impulse on hearing that message is to brag to me about how you don't have any job protections and you don't need any, save your breath. Because when I hear you say that, all it tells me is how little you're willing to settle for, and how little you care about other workers who may look different than you, but are really pretty much the same. For those of you who are still here with me, thank you for sticking around till the end. Next Tuesday, I promise we'll be back to the tips and information that you're looking for. Until then, take care and hang in. Fight smart.